Hey, what's up, everyone? Back for another episode of the Kiss Album Focus. This week it is Destroyer. I'm Ray.
What's up, everybody? I'm Brian.
Let's get ready to have some fun. So Destroyer is a big album, would you say?
Oh, God. Huge. Huge album for them, particularly coming, their first album coming off of the game changer that was Alive.
Mhm.
And, also, and we'll see as we talk about it, but also I would argue just a high point for them in their studio albums. I mean, certainly in the first, or what we would describe as like the makeup era. It's up there as a high point. It's a high point creatively, and it's a high point for sales for them, after the first three albums, didn't do very well commercially, at least until Alive started to catapult them a little bit. Huge album for them.
So the thing about the success of Alive is it afforded them a lot of new opportunities. So before they had Kerner and Wise do the first two albums, Neil Bogart did the third album, Alive. They did get, which we didn't mention, Eddie Kramer produced Alive, who's very well-known producer. But now we get Bob Ezrin. Now, for those who don't know, Bob Ezrin was a big deal, made big albums with Alice Cooper, Pink Floyd, so now that they are a successful act, more of these outside people are willing to work with them.
You're also getting some involvement from Kim Fowley on this album, where he wasn't, as far as I know, I don't think he was really involved with Kiss before this.
Not at all.
And for those that don't know, Kim Fowley of Runaways fame and stuff, the legendary Runaways manager and producer. He's coming in to, help a little bit with writing and structuring and stuff. I mean, he's not exactly like writing the songs, but he's sort of, I think that voice on the outside that's like, well, I think maybe you should try this or you should try that. He was like one of those guys, I think, at the time.
Yeah, Bob Ezrin, unlike Eddie Kramer is a real producer too, but he stylistically is different. Bob Ezrin is the classic producer that's going to go in. One, he's a musician, so he understands musical theory. A lot of things the band doesn't know anything about. Yeah. Plus, because he's been in the business so long, he knows a lot of great songwriters too. So for the first time, we're getting these outside artists that are stepping in and helping help Kiss with writing songs, but helping to shape their sound as well, which they didn't have before.
And really just teaching them a bit. Like, I know Bob Ezrin, I think Kiss had said in hindsight that it was almost kind of like a musical boot camp, that Bob Ezrin, basically, I think he wore like a whistle. He had like a whistle. And like, he would, like, if they did something he didn't like, he would like blow the whistle. And, then, he would tell them, and he taught them some stuff they didn't know. I mean, Kiss, Gene and Paul and Peter and Ace, they all had like natural ability, but these guys were not like, geniuses in music theory and stuff like that. So Bob Ezrin kind of came in and taught them a lot of that stuff, taught them a lot more, I think, about like song structuring and arrangement and stuff like that, and really kind of gave them a crash course in like, okay, you're here, welcome to the pros. Yes, this is what you got to do now.
Yeah, that's an interesting dynamic, because that could have ended in disaster. So, everybody knows that, well, the people in Kiss have gigantic egos. Not as big back then, but you have a guy like Bob Ezrin that's coming in and saying, hey, look, we need to be able to speak the same language. If I'm talking to you and I say, hey, look, the song needs this, this, and this, you have to know what I'm talking about. So he literally shut down production, like you said, and started teaching them about music theory and how things are supposed to go, because they never really had a proper producer before this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a lot to be said for that.
And the result shows. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the result shows. I mean, and the argument of whether, a song off Hotter Than Hell is a better song than, whether you like it more than a song off Destroyer or whatever, that's all personal preference. But as far as evolution or elevating their songwriting and arrangement and structuring and all that kind of stuff, to me, the result really should Destroyer.
Yeah, well, there's Bob Ezrin, who is like a master, and obviously, I think the big album that he produced for Pink Floyd was The Wall. But even if you look at some of his Alice Cooper stuff, Kiss at this point was kind of, the albums were really good, but it was high energy, balls to the wall. They didn't have a great understanding of dynamics. So when you listen to Destroyer, it's very much got a cinematic feel to it, listening to it. And there was a lot of things that they did with that.
I mean, and I want to just also take a quick moment to mention, because just in case I forget before the episode's over, I just want to take a quick second to acknowledge the outrageously awesome album cover.
Yes.
Because Destroyer is one of my favorite album covers of all time. It is an absolutely killer album cover, and it would start, sort of a trend with a lot of their album covers. I forget his name, but the guy who did the album cover for Destroyer, I think also did Love Gun a few years later.
Yes, it's Ken Kelly.
Yeah, Ken Kelly. And what an awesome album cover that is. And I just wanted to throw that in there before I forget, because I love that album cover.
So, as if we didn't need another link to Nerdum, Ken Kelly was actually referred by Gene Simmons. Gene Simmons is the one who got the ball rolling and getting Ken Kelly to do something, because Ken Kelly, up to this point, he did a lot of work like this with comic books and graphic novels, which Gene was a big fan of. So he loved the artwork style of Ken, and we're going to see him later. They'll do another one for Love Gun. So yeah, it was an unbelievable package. You got it, the inserts, all the stuff. Just, you knew this was going to be something epic. The recording we had some challenges during the recording of this album. And some of them good, some of them bad. Like I said, first of all, Kiss has to go to record camp. They learn how to write a better song. And it's not necessarily, they did great up until that point, but there really wasn't anybody teaching them anything. They're kind of fumbling their way through it. And they're doing good stuff, but they're doing the best they can with what they got. Bob Ezrin changes everything. From this point on, Kiss has a much better understanding about songwriting, song structure, and how to properly make a recording. Little things like technical things on the inside, where Kiss literally just stood in a room, played, and then said, "Oh, that sounds good, that sounds bad."
Yeah. He also, now this is the first album where Bob Ezrin really introduced Kiss to like things like using sound effects and soundscapey type stuff. And you see that with like, the car starting in Detroit Rock City, or the children in God of Thunder. This is the first real Kiss album where you really start to see kind of any of that stuff. Like they weren't really doing any of that.
And they're doing a number of different things with, now we have a symphony involved.
Yeah.
Now
and
we're adding
musicians.
This is the first Kiss album where outside musicians are going to have to be used, because the musicians that they have either are unavailable or not in a good place to record.
Read drunk.
Bombed. Whatever, however you want to say it. But this is the first time, and we already talked about some of the inner turmoil with the band in various stages, like Hotter Than Hell being a big one. There was some turmoil in there. Destroyer this is really the start of the breakup of the band.
Yeah, this is where the cracks really.
Yes.
I mean, they're not fully there yet, but this is where they're forming.
Yes. So if we're going to get into a little bit of the drama real quick, and that's not really what this is about, but it's important to discuss some of it while discussing the album. Peter Criss has massive timing issues. and he is not able to get great tracks initially. So there was a couple of days where the band was sent away, and Bob Ezrin worked with Peter Criss, even as so forth, installing a click track, something to help Pete stay on time. And that was something that was very difficult for Peter Criss. And I think there's it's an ego thing there, because also too, he's the drummer in this successful band, and you telling me that I don't really know how to play the drums?
Yeah, I mean, look, that's a hard thing in Peter's defense.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
That's a hard thing to deal with. I mean, when you're like, look, I've already put out 3 studio albums that at this point have sold, over 100,000 copies each at least, at this point. And I've been the drummer for an extremely successful live album, which is kind of taking, the country by storm, or the world by storm right now. And it's like, and you're telling me I don't know how to play drums?
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel for Peter.
You absolutely have to. It's anytime where something is going to challenge your ego and check your ego, there's only 2 ways it's going to go. Either you're going to accept it and learn from the experience, or you're going to battle back. And Pete has said in numerous interviews, Destroyer is his favorite album because of how much literal blood, sweat, and tears he put into it. He had to work harder than everybody else in that band in order to get a great album, because Bob Ezrin was going to accept nothing less.
Yep.
So there's going to be some challenges here. We know going in on Sweet Pain, there's different stories out there, but Paul and Gene say, hey, look, he didn't show up, or he wasn't in good shape to record. So they end up contacting Bob Ezrin, brought in Dick Wagner to come in and record the guitar solo for Sweet Pain.
Yep.
That became a sore point for Ace. Ace contends that nobody told him about it, and he didn't find out about it until he listened to the album and said, wait a minute, that's not me. You guys are trying to pull a fast one here.
So what's the truth? Your guess is as good as ours, but
it really is hard to figure out what the truth is there, because everybody in the situation isn't always honest all the time.
Honestly, I mean, I have no idea, but if I had to guess, I would guess, Ace recorded a solo at some point for Sweet Pain. Bob Ezrin brought Dick Wagner in to record a solo for Sweet Pain. And honestly, Bob Ezrin liked Wagner's better. Yeah. And ended up like making the decision to use it. And Gene and Paul probably just kind of went along with it because, Bob Ezrin's the producer. What he thinks is what we should listen to. I mean, that's my guess. Who knows, though?
Yeah, you don't really know. Based on what I've read about the situation and things that I know about, from other research on Bob Ezrin, that's literally the way it went. But this is Bob's the producer. He's the man in charge. You're going to do exactly what he tells you to do. And we know that a guitar solo was later released on Destroyer Resurrected, and it appeared again on a deluxe edition of Destroyer. But if you're being objective about it, if you listen to Ace's solo that was later released, Wagner did a much better job.
Yeah, honestly, and I went back and I re-listened to this a couple days ago in anticipation of doing this video. And honestly, I like Wagner's better. Wagner's solo is better. That being said, I don't think they're that different. I think the solo is similar on both parts. I think Wagner just plays it better.
Yeah. We don't know.
There's a little difference here or there, but I don't think it's not like a 3-minute solo or anything. No. I mean, it's a relatively, it's whatever, a 20 or 30-second solo. And I don't think it's that different, but Wagner's is better.
Yeah, and we don't know the inside dynamics at that point in time, but it is something that happens, and it's something that's gonna continue to be a problem down the road, and we're gonna face more of these challenges, or at least Kiss will face these challenges going down the road. Outside of that, we'll start with the very first track. The album opens up with none other than Detroit Rock City. Brian, tell me about Detroit Rock City.
Look, well, I can't say it's amazing. It's another example of Kiss putting out an album with a killer opening track. Detroit Rock City, granted, it's a little overplayed, on rock radio and stuff. I mean, it does fall. It's not quite rock and roll night, but it does fall into the category of like, oh well, every time you hear Zeppelin on the radio, it's either Black Dog or it's Stairway to Heaven or insert song here. But it is one of those songs that's a little bit overplayed. That being said, when you take that out of the equation, for me, I think it's one of the quintessential Kiss songs ever written. I think it's a top 10 Kiss song for me of all time. I think it is an absolutely killer opening track, and maybe my favorite opening track Kiss has ever done on an album. Like at least top 3, if not number 1. Just an amazing riff. It has a great structure between like the verse and then the chorus, and then like it has this like turnaround that's fantastic. It's got like the song, I believe it's in C. I think it's in C major, but Paul's singing it on the high end, and he's up there, man, like the whole time, and it's just loaded with energy. One of my I'm like stumbling because I'm so excited about Detroit Rock City, because I love Detroit Rock City, but it also has one of my all-time favorite, at least from the makeup era, one of my all-time favorite lead guitar parts in Kiss history. Absolutely love that lead part. Ace just really, really killing it on that song. As far as I'm concerned with the lead part. I mean, I don't know, like maybe he ate his Wheaties that day or something, but like that lead part is it's melodic, but it's also got balls. It's amazing.
There's a lot of great guitar work on there, and this is where I always say that, because Kiss is always dismissed for their musicianship. Ace and Paul very much have this Joe Walsh, Don Felder thing going on, like in Hotel California, playing these lead fills in different octaves, trying different things. You got now Bob Ezrin is bringing a lot almost immediately when you're listening to this album. It's the first song. You got sound effect. You got the somebody driving in their car trying to get to a Kiss show. Okay.
Yep.
You have Gene Simmons is playing this Latin flavored bass throughout the song. None of this existed in Kiss before. It was straight ahead, simplistic, balls to the wall rock and roll. There's a lot of things going on that Ezrin helped layer and take care of, not to mention the fact that now they're adding grand piano under the guitars and the bass just to thicken that sound a little bit, similar to what they were doing with acoustics on Dress to Kill, but a lot more dynamic now.
And it really works. I mean, the song sounds full and fat and just riffing and rocking, and like just what a killer song.
Yeah. And we've talked about extensively for our love of Rock and Roll All Night. If you go to a Kiss show doesn't feel like a Kiss show until at the end of the night, the last song is Rock and Roll All Night. To me, the best way to start a Kiss show is you're starting with Detroit Rock City.
Absolutely. And another note on, going back to the well of what we were talking about earlier about some songs being better with the live versions. And I love the studio version of Detroit Rock City. I really do. I think it's really tight and it's really rocking. But I really like how in the live versions, depending on what show and what era it's from, Paul has been known to really kind of change up the vocal melodies, especially, for the verses. And some of the changes he makes are really, really cool. Depends on the show. I remember we had like a bootleg or something. I think it was like Sao Paulo or something, Brazil. I forget what era it was from. But he did a version and he changed the melodies up in a way that I had never heard him do before. And I'm like, oh man, that was awesome.
Don't forget Sydney, Australia, 1980. He sang it completely different. And it's one of those songs that as a vocalist, it's great because there's so much room in that song for a great vocal. You can do whatever you want there, and it's almost impossible to strike out. And he has, if you're an audiophile, he almost never sings the song the same way twice. It's just, there's so much room for him to do whatever.
Yeah, and it's one of those songs, you're right, where it really, really promotes that improving live. And just the killer track, man. Detroit Rock City is one of the quintessential like Kiss songs as far as I'm concerned. And you're right, a great concert opener.
And you're talking about the next track, you think you got a gut punch on Detroit Rock City. Well, guess what? Following that up is King of the Nighttime World.
Amazing. I mean, and I hate to bring up Zeppelin again because this is a Kiss show, but it really reminds me of the Heartbreaker, Live and Love and Made.
Yeah.
Sort of like, you don't want to listen to Heartbreaker and not listen to Live and Love and Made after. I mean, they're two separate songs, but you know, they go together. They're like peanut butter and jelly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so Detroit Rock City, like when I hear Detroit Rock City, I want that followed up by King of the Nighttime World because that song is awesome.
And again, you got the outside writers. Kim Fowley is involved in this one.
Yep.
Okay. They're trying to do so. Before this album, Kiss is pretty much sex and rock and roll, lyrically. It's about taking a woman to bed, or chasing a woman, or having a good time, or partying, doing whatever. Now now we still have the sex, drugs, and rock and roll feel, but now lyrically we're starting to paint bitter pictures. So like I said, it's a very thematic album, and the dynamics of this song are so incredible. There's a lot of things happening here. Same with Detroit Rock City. You hear the piano in there. It's back there. You can hear it, but there's a lot of different things. Peter is doing different things on the drums now. It's not just 4/4 like this all the time. Now he's having to play different now. So a lot of things happening here.
Yeah, King of the Nighttime World is just, and it really keeps the streak alive for me with like the opening of Kiss records just being like just awesome right out of the gate, and bleeding into King of the Nighttime World. Just couldn't pick two better tracks to open that album with.
Yeah, no, it's the perfect 1-2 punch to get everything started, because right after
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, and what I was gonna add is, for me, it's really a 1-2-3 punch, because the third track is God of Thunder, and for me, the quintessential Gene Simmons song. There is no other Gene Simmons song. As far as like, you know, what I think is his signature classic, gotta hear it song. Love God of Thunder. The first three tracks on this album for me are perfect Kiss songs. They're perfect Kiss. They're 10 out of 10s. They're perfect Kiss songs.
I mean, so pretty much you can argue at least 7 songs here on most lists are going to make a Kiss top 20.
Yeah.
That's a pretty important album. And from the album perspective on how they're setting things up, you have these 2 bombastic songs like King of the Nighttime World and Detroit Rock City. And now things are going to step back. It's going to be slower. It's going to plod. You're going to hear the demon as he should be portrayed now. He's got a lot of effects on his vocals. He's got a growl to him. Like they're actually trying to take the visual and give you an audio of how it's going to be.
Yeah, and I think the sound effect stuff, like the kids and all that stuff in the song, for me, like it works. Like I think it jives. Like I think that it sounds cool. Like to have the sound of like, you know, these innocent children, you know, laughing or, you know, yelling a little
creepy.
Yeah, contrasted with Gene's, you know, heavily affected, deep, growly vocal as the demon, and have these like kids' voices sort of like peppered in here and there. The whole thing works.
It's amazing from a production standpoint. It's got it's almost like a Nightmare on Elm Street vibe to it. It's very creepy. It's unsettling is what it is. And but it works perfect for the song. Now imagine.
Absolutely.
We talked about the ego check within the band. Peter had to take a beating on this one for a little bit. Now imagine you're Paul Stanley and you wrote this great song and say, hey, I got the next song, check it out. And Bob Ezrin goes, hey, there's some cool stuff there. Jane's going to sing this one and we're going to slow it down.
Yep.
There was a chance if you had listened to Paul Stanley's demo that you would have gotten the God of Thunder.
God of Thunder. Yeah. Well, didn't they do a country version at one point?
Yeah, when they started playing acoustic shows and stuff, they tried. It's not a song that plays well on an acoustic.
No, not particularly. But it is funny to hear like a countryed up acoustic version of it.
Mm-hmm. And they're out there. If the people watching this hasn't seen it, I'd advise you to check it out because it's funny. But again, we're talking about, imagine the look on Paul Stanley's face or how he feels like, I got this strong track, which if you listen to the demo it's very Kiss-like, okay, before this album. And then to sit there and go, wait a minute, Gene's going to sing this one? Oh, wait a minute, we're going to make a bunch of changes to it? Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, look, it was the right decision. I mean,
absolutely.
The song is killer. That riff, dun 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 dun, like that riff is killer.
And if you're a kid that's learning how to play the guitar, that's a riff you want to play. You can just have fun with that.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not that hard. It's not a hard riff to play. I mean, it's pretty basic. It's pretty simple, but it sounds amazing.
Turn the gain up and the volume up on your amp and just have fun with it. It's a great song. And it's, these are all critical songs. And we're only the first 3 tracks. Coming up next is a little bit different though.
The 4th track is going to break that trend a little for me, but
this song, Great Expectations, it's not a bad song.
It's not terrible.
No.
It does, for me, it doesn't come close to living up to the quality of the first 3. It's, for me, it's a bottom third Kiss song. It's not atrocious. I don't listen to it and like be like, oh my God, this is awful or anything. But I mean, for me, it's my least favorite song on the album. Like, it's the song that works the least for me. It's basically a song. I mean, they should have just called the song Gene Simmons's Ego. Yeah. Because that's basically what the song is about, is Gene Simmons talking about how you need him. Yeah. It's like the idea of the song.
It just, to me, it's like, I understand what they were going. They were trying to create this, a song that brings, it kind of takes away that fence or the gate between the audience and the band. But I just think it's too smart for a Kiss album, and it doesn't hit the mark that they're firing.
Yeah, I definitely give them some kudos for trying something different, because it's very different from any other song on the album. It's very different from any song on any of their albums up to that point. And they have like a choir coming in near the end of it. They got strings, the symphony, they got the string stuff. I mean, look, it's creative, and I give them points for trying something different. For me, it doesn't work so much as a Kiss song. No. It's not a terrible song, but as a Kiss song, it's the weak point of the album.
Yeah. Now the next one, we start to rock it up a little bit. We got a Paul Stanley song. And this one, it's credited to Ace Frehley, Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, and Bob Ezrin. It's Flaming Youth.
Indeed. And I'm a big fan of Flaming Youth. I think Flaming Youth is potentially my favorite song on side B, or on the back half, if you're listening to the CD, on the back half of the CD. I think Flaming Youth is a contender for my favorite. I think it's just a good, solid Kiss-esque rockin' song.
Yeah.
Like it's a no frills kind of rocker. It doesn't try to do anything super, super fancy. It's whatever, 3.5 minutes or whatever it is. And it's a straight ahead, cool, like Kiss style rocker.
And it's the only Kiss song, I think, that's got a calliope playing in it. which is true, but
That's one for the record
just
books.
it's an odd thing. That's actually one thing that Paul Stanley has said. I don't understand the calliope. I don't know why it needs to be there, but what are you going to do? It's there, you know.
Hey, it works.
I think Flaming Youth, I think, is a really good song. I think in many ways it gets overlooked. It's an anthem, but it's hard for that song to stand out when you got better anthems like Detroit Rock City and Shout It Out Loud. It just kind of just gets pushed out of the way.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a hidden gem. It's a little
Yeah.
bit forgotten compared to like the ones you just mentioned are obviously the go-tos for most people on Destroyer, and I see why. But for me, Flaming Youth it's a hidden gem. It's up there as a song. I mean, it's not my favorite song on the album, but it's a song I really like on there.
Yeah, it to me, like I said, I always thought that it was always forgotten about a little bit. It just, like I said, it's not a bad song. It's actually a lot of fun, and it's cool to turn it up when you're driving in your car. But as far as another Kiss anthem is concerned, it's not a bad anthem. It's just there are songs that are just so much better than it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, and next, going to Sweet Pain is next, right?
Yeah.
So going to Sweet Pain, honestly, I kind of feel similar about it as Flaming Youth in the sense that like it's kind of a pretty straight up Kiss song for me, like a pretty straight up Kiss rocking song. Kind of gets overlooked a little bit compared to some of the other songs that we've mentioned. But it's good. It's a solid, a solid track of the album.
Yeah, this is another one of those albums that it really is a great album. There aren't any clunkers on it per se.
Yeah, no.
For the exception of what we were talking about with Great Expectations, but there's a lot of things that they're trying that are different here. They're playing around with melodies, they're playing around with tempos, when before it was just straight up 3-chord rock and shake your ass a little bit and have some fun. Now they're looking past that. They're trying different things with a guy that is demanding excellence from them.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going into the next one. I like Sweet Pain a lot. It's just kind of like Flaming Youth. It's great, but there's just so many songs that kick its ass. Like the next one, Shout It Out Loud.
It's a classic Kiss staple. I mean, it's been a staple of their live show more or less since Destroyer came out. I mean, they've taken it out of the set here and there and put it back in and stuff, but I would consider it along with Rock and Roll All Night, Let Me Go Rock and Roll. It's one of those songs that is kind of a staple to their live show, and it's an anthem. And it's a great anthem. I mean, Shout It Out Loud is quintessential Kiss listening.
Yeah. To me, it's a top 10 song. This is a song I want to hear at every Kiss show because it's a great song, but it's another one of those songs that if you see the live show, it takes on a life of its own because everybody is just doing their thing. The crowd is into it. They're totally invested in it. And it creates a different kind of atmosphere. I love it. Plus, you get another song where you got a Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons vocal. And when they do it live, you start to hear Ace more in the back and Peter more. Like, it's a good time for all. Another great anthem by Kiss.
Yeah, and it's really cool. I've always been a fan of most of the songs that have both Paul and Gene taking lead vocals together. Is always kind of cool to have them because, their voices are pretty different. So, having that contrast and then showing that contrast within the context of the same song is, usually pretty cool because it doesn't happen that often. So it's usually pretty cool when it does.
Right. I agree with that 110%. Now things are going to drastically change up. We got Beth. Beth is actually kind of interesting because I don't think Gene and Paul really liked the song. It was brought in. Peter doesn't always have a lot of great material to bring into the sessions. And in this particular case, they had a song, they retooled it, restructured it. If you go and listen to the original demos of the song that he had with, I think it was Chelsea, a band before Kiss that they had did this. Bob Ezrin loves it. Peter Criss loves it. I think Paul and Gene love it because the success it brought the band. But this was a song that is kind of interesting because it was a B-side to Detroit Rock City. And it became popular when somebody discovered it and just flipped the 45 over and started playing the B-side. It was supposed to be almost like it was treated by some in the band as a throwaway. And it turns out by the end of the year, they're winning a Kids' Choice Award for it.
I mean, Beth, it would go on to be their biggest selling single of all time. Beth, I mean it, and honestly, like, and I think the song is a very nice song.
Yes.
That being, just to clear that, just to say that for sure, I think the song is a very nice, very pretty, very nice song. It is a bit un-Kiss-like.
It is very un-Kiss-like.
Yeah, I mean, there is that. I mean, I remember the first time I listened to Destroyer, I'm listening to the album, I'm like, all right, Detroit Rock City, awesome. King Nighttime World, awesome. Get to Great Expectations. I'm like, all right, it's all right, whatever. It's not my favorite. Flaming Youth, awesome. Sweet Pain, awesome. Shout It Out Loud, etc. Then I get to Beth and I'm like, did I put a different record on? like what? It's like what happened? But I think it's a really nice song, and and it's a well put together song, well produced song, and it was a huge hit for them.
It's just funny that the biggest hit that they will have, well, they certainly had up until this point, is a song that has almost no identity to the band other than Peter Criss is singing it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even in other versions that are released. When you hear an acoustic guitar on that song, that's not even Paul Stanley.
Nope.
Again, that's an outside musician. I think that's Dick Wagner again, actually, to be honest.
Yeah,
with
I think you're right. Yeah.
Nobody on the song, nobody plays it. It's just Peter singing. When they end up playing it live, they tried an electric version of the song that just didn't work. And they ended up just bringing a cassette. And as an encore, he would sing it, but it's just Peter Criss on the stage all by himself.
Yep.
Now it became a big hit, but it's another one of those things where this is going to drive a further wedge between members of the group. And I think that's something that Peter Criss kind of always took a little personal, is that Paul and Gene didn't really believe in the song. And the fact that it took on a life of its own, I think caused some resentment within the band. And I know certainly on Peter's side of it. Plus, for the first time when they're playing this song live, now you, at no point in the show, other than a drum solo or a guitar solo or Gene's blood spitting, this is one person from the band singing, performing in front of the crowd, and everybody else is gone.
Yeah, I mean, and it's Gene and Paul there were probably a piece of them that were like, we've written and recorded at this point, whatever, roughly 40 songs or, something like that. And, we've written all these, and then we have all these great tracks and everything. And, we finally get a number one hit, and it's the song that we don't even play on, and like, that was probably, I mean, I'm not condoning them being like, mean to Peter about it or whatever happened, but I'm just saying that was probably a hard pill to swallow at the time.
Yeah, you can't buy the typical Paul and Gene line, hey, look, this is about what's best for Kiss, right? It's not always what's best for Peter and Ace. It's not always best what for Paul and Gene. But sometimes that doesn't apply when it comes to Paul and Gene. But at the same time, here it is. It's getting all of this radio airplay. It's helping to move product. They're winning awards for it.
And it would still go on, right, to be their only number one hit.
For a while, at least until we get another several years down the road. They end up getting successful.
Of that core band.
Of that core group, yes, that's the only song.
Peter, Ace, and Gene and Paul era.
Yeah.
That's it. That's their only number one hit.
Yeah. So, Beth, it's a really good song, but it's just weird how successful the song was, and it's it's really not a great Kiss song. It's a good
No,
song, but it's not Kiss.
yeah, no, agreed. It's a good, very nice song, not a great Kiss song.
Right. So we're about ready to round out this album. We got one more track to go, and it's Do You Love Me? Brian, tell me about Do You Love Me?
I do. Do You Love Me is awesome. It's quintessential Kiss as far as I'm concerned. It is a great Paul Stanley track. Some chock full of great Paul innuendo lyrics. What's he like? My 7-inch leather heels.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're not talking about heels.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Paul. What are we doing? But I mean, it's a great, just cool Kiss song that fits snugly in their catalog for me in the pantheon of just good solid Kiss tracks. Like for me, Do You Love Me is not like a Detroit Rock City where
right.
Where it's going to be a top 10 Kiss song for me, but it's a song that is right there in the middle of their catalog that is like a solid Kiss track that I enjoy. I dig it. I think is really cool. I don't think it's the best thing they ever wrote, but I think it's absolutely solid.
Yeah, I think it's a great track. It certainly plays well acoustically, and we see that with Unplugged down the road. They try it out live, and kind of got mixed results with it. But what I was really happy about, because one of the things that I feel about this song is it's very underappreciated. By the time the reunion tour comes up, Do You Love Me finds its way back into the sets and will stick around in the sets for several years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good thing because it's a great song. I absolutely love the song. So now Kiss does a lot of stuff here. So they end up hitting the road. Well, first, let's go into some of the chart success with the album. So again, we got Australia, Canada, Sweden, the US, all cracked the top 10. And the US top Taskmaster albums, it's number 3. Top catalog albums, number 4. Swedish, it's number 4. Is Sweden actually. Canada, it's number 6. Number 6. The singles start charting. Now, Shout It Out Loud ended up going number 1 on the singles charts in Canada, but on the Billboard side, it still ended up about 31, which is about Kiss as high as Kiss is going to get at this point, except for Beth. Now, Beth gets crazy. On the Billboard Pop Singles chart, it reaches 7. That's huge for them. Canadian singles chart, it's number 5. Like I said, by the end of the year, they are winning a Kids' Choice Award for Best Rock Song. And it's Beth.
which is hysterical in its own right, that they win Best Rock Song, and it's the least rockiest song they ever did to that point.
Right. But it's still great. Like I said, it starts selling immediately. I think it actually debuted in the top 10. While it peaked at 6, it debuted in the top 10, which is obviously, we've been doing chart positioning on these albums as we've been doing these videos. Kiss hasn't seen the top 10 very often.
No.
But there is one interesting thing about the album. The album drops and there's a backlash from Kiss fans. Kiss fans had a hard time getting used to this new sound from Kiss. Everybody was used to that alive sound, balls to the wall, and going, wait, Beth, what is this? What's going on? It's weird. It's crazy.
It is, but I mean, again, for me, look, I mean, here's the thing. You can't, in my opinion at least, you can't keep writing and recording the same album over and over again and expect to be relevant in 50 years. You're gonna get diminished returns. You know what I mean? And the first 3 albums, while they have obviously different songs on them and stuff, are very, very similar. They're very similar albums as far as the songwriting, the sound, what the songs sound like, what the songs are about, the themes, the lyrics, etc. They're very similar. So I feel, and they're amazing, and I love them, and you know it. But the thing is, like, with an artist, and with music, I feel like you need to evolve. You need to move forward. You need to try some new things. You can't do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again for 40 years and put out 20 albums as they have, studio albums, and have every one of them, be the exact same template. It's going to be diminished returns. You're going to start getting bored of that.
You're absolutely right. Every really successful band ends up fighting this at some point because everybody wants it to be, part of the things that turns people on about bands is, especially when they're not mainstream bands, it's kind of indie, it's kind of cult. It's like, well, I like them because nobody else really likes them.
Yeah.
And then everybody likes them, and it's like, oh, it's not the same band. Well, do you want to you don't sign a record contract just to always put out art. You sign to make money too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And business is a big thing. It's kind of, you kind of need money.
And sometimes that stuff works out. Sometimes bands being strong-armed into being, into refining their music a little, sometimes ends up working in their favor, and they put out their best album. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it doesn't, and they end up putting out a shit fest that that everybody universally hates. I mean, it can go both ways, but it can go both ways.
Yes. So there is some calculation that you got to deal with it. It doesn't really hurt Kiss. Kiss at this point, they actually, in a way, Destroyer comes out, they kind of plateau a little bit, because while the album gets more critical success, it starts selling great, and all of that is good. It's the longtime Kiss fans that kind of feel, I don't know if left behind is the way to put it, but Destroyer also brings in a lot of mainstream fans. You got Shout It Out Loud that is getting played on the radio a lot. It's bringing more ears and eyes to the group.
Sure. So, yeah, I mean, and you probably have, female listeners that, I mean, they didn't have a big female market for the first few albums.
Not early on.
Not early on, not at all. And then, all of a sudden they're hearing songs like Beth, and they're like, oh, well, I like that song. Like, let me see what else this band has got, or what, maybe I should check this band out or whatever. So now they're getting like a little bit of a female audience, which is kind of new for them at the time.
Mm-hmm. So Brian, on the tour front, average set list in this era was Deuce, Strutter, Hotter Than Hell, Flaming Youth, Detroit Rock City, Nothing to Lose, Shout It Out Loud, Firehouse, God of Thunder, Let Me Go, Rock and Roll Night, and Black Diamond.
And that's the solid set list. I mean, for the most part. I mean, there's a couple songs I probably would have changed around the order a little myself, but like overall, it's a solid set list.
Yeah, and they hit the road. Now they're traveling more into Europe at this point in time, and battling the sun.
I know. I see it. I see it coming back. It's like creeping across your face.
There we go. So anyway, so they're starting to play Europe here. They're getting a lot of tours outside of the US, very successful tours.
I can't. It's funny. I'm sorry. It's just that it's coming.
I cannot edit all of this out, so it'll make the video, so you guys get the entertaining struggle to watch the guy deal with sun glare. It is. We got real problems here, folks, but this is a real thing that's happening.
Where's that goddamn lighting guy we hired?
Mother effer, son of a bitch. But it is what it is. So I'll fight through it.
All right, fair enough.
So Kiss is playing lots of shows. Pretty soon they're going to be getting off the road and getting prepped for their next album, an album that they'll actually, and we'll discuss this in the next episode, Destroyer, the success of Destroyer scares them a little bit, especially some of the feedback that they're getting from fans. So they actually start working backwards now. Instead of using Destroyer as a stepping stone to move into bigger and better things, they get scared a little bit and actually pull it back. And we'll see that on Rock and Roll Over. But as far as an actual album is concerned, Destroyer, how does that rank on your list?
It ranks high, man. I got to tell you, it ranks high. For me, of the 20 studio albums on my list, I am ranking Destroyer at number 2. It is one of my favorite Kiss albums, start to finish, of all time. A lot of that, admittedly, the first 3 songs, as we talked about, Detroit Rock City, Nighttime World, God of Thunder, those 3 songs are like 3 of my favorite Kiss songs ever. So the fact that all 3 of those are on this album is definitely really elevating it. Honestly, the only thing that keeps it from the number 1 spot for me is probably just because Great Expectations, it's not terrible, but I'm not a huge fan of. Like, it would be my pick for my least favorite on the album. So that, and I like Beth, but it's a little bit, like we said, unkiss. So for me, that's really all that holds it back from being number 1 for me. I'm going to go with number 2.
Yeah, for me, ranking all the albums 1 through 35, Destroyer ends up number 10. Top 10 album. It's a great album. There's a lot of important songs that we will see and be played live for years and years. It's great. I don't really have a whole lot to say that's negative about it. I mean, we're talking 35 albums and this is ranked 10. That's really good, actually. It's a pretty damn good album.
Yeah, and for me, 2 out of 20 is, that's really, it's a quintessential Kiss album as far as I'm concerned. The album cover is classic and awesome. The production quality on here, which we didn't get a chance to mention, significantly improved from the first 3 albums as far as the sound quality, production quality overall. Bob Ezrin, thanks. And it has a number of songs, Detroit Rock City, God of Thunder, Shout It Out Loud, those 3 in particular, that are just absolute required listening for anybody, even the most casual of Kiss fans. 3 on the same album that I would consider to be required listening. This is a classic, quintessential Kiss album, and to Ray's point too, this is a top 10 must listen to Kiss album.
It kind of sets the bar, especially moving forward. I mean, we have the success of Alive, but as far as actual studio albums are concerned, this is the album more often than not that Kiss will go in and say, okay, we have to try and top that. And we got mixed results there moving forward that we'll see. But usually it's the Destroyer is the bar for Kiss.
It really is. I mean, and in a lot of fans' minds, I think Destroyer is, when you ask a Kiss fan, like, oh, what's your favorite Kiss studio record? I think Destroyer is one of the 3 or 4 most common answers you're going to get.
Agreed.
Out of like the average fan, I would guess.
Yeah. And like you, Destroyer would probably rank a little bit higher, but with some of the misses that we have on it, with like Great Expectations being one of them, the totality of the album, actually, to me, it suffers a little bit. I don't listen to this, a couple of the songs on the album very often. So, but still, killer album, would highly recommend it to anybody.
Yep, absolutely.
Other than that pretty much takes care of everything. So they did have 2 reissues on this album. They had a Destroyer Resurrected that came out on I think it was the 25th anniversary. Bob Ezrin was able to go in and digitally remix and remaster. The results are mixed. Like, for me, the instrumentation sounds better. Like, the drums, there's a lot more bottom end to the drums, so they really punch more. But I kind of like the original. Like, the remix is okay. I mean, but I don't listen to it often. If I'm going to do it, I'll just listen to Destroyer.
No, I agree completely. I think the remix is fine. I mean, there's some sound quality stuff, some quality of life stuff, like you mentioned, with the bottom end, with the drums, maybe a little bit of crispness on some of the guitars and stuff. But
Mhm.
it's really, the differences are kind of negligible as far as like the good stuff.
Mhm.
For me, it's if I want to hear Destroyer, I'm just gonna put on Destroyer.
Like I said, interesting to listen to, but not something to listen to every day. They recently did a super deluxe version of the album that had all of these additional demos. I
Yeah.
really like that stuff, but some people, it really wouldn't matter to them. I get a kick out of hearing earlier versions of the song and how it progressed and the changes that they made. I
Mhm.
think it's kind of cool, but again, not a deal breaker. If you don't need, you
Yeah.
don't need all this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, some of that stuff is cool. I was listening to there's a few Don't You Hesitate, right? It's like a Paul
Mhm.
song. And then like Bad Bad Lovin' was
Uh-huh.
what song did that become? I forget. I listened to it a couple weeks ago. But
I think Bad
um
Bad Lovin' became Calling Dr. Love.
yeah, to Calling Dr. Love, I think it was. Yeah. Yeah, because it was I was going through some of the demos a couple weeks ago, and look, all that stuff it's cool, like to have like in the vault or in the collection or whatever. And like I could see, throwing that stuff on once or twice to listen to it. As you can tell, I don't remember it that well, so I'm not
Mhm.
that versed in that extra stuff because quite frankly, that kind of stuff is not stuff that I listen to on a regular basis.
Mhm.
It's something that if I'm in the right mood, I'll throw on as a curiosity or
Mhm.
something like that. So like, oh, what did Calling Dr. Love sound like before it was Calling Dr. Love? It's like, oh, okay, cool. But honestly, if I'm in the mood to listen to it, I'm just going to listen to Dr. Love. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, so it's not something that I spend a lot of time on. Like Ray said, it's not a deal breaker, but it's cool to have.
Yeah, I mean the cool thing though is it did bring a Destroyer era live show to the deluxe edition, I think from Paris, France.
Yeah,
So it was cool
Paris.
to hear the live stuff, a better version of the live stuff from that area.
Hmm.
I'm always a fan of that, and it's pretty good there. But the problem with releasing some of that stuff is you've kind of conditioned a lot of your audience for a live album to sound like a live 2 and a live 3. So when you hear live recordings from the era, they don't share a lot in common. There's a lot
Hmm.
of noticeable things that are missing or not accentuated and whatever, but I still love all that stuff. Again, I'm kind of in the minority there. I like having the demos, but it's not something we go to all the time.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's pretty much it. We've ranked it. We want to know what your rankings are. Tell us what you think about in the comments. Next time is another big one. It's Rock and Roll Over.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night.
Later.